rock stars. We had a huge RSVP list. I think it's certainly a very interesting topic.
We'll try and make it as interesting as we can.
And we want to avoid Julia's hook too. So
Well, great. Well, let's get rolling then, and people can join us as they're able. And obviously, many people will watch this at some point in the future. So, hello to you as well. So, welcome to our latest US ENT Supplier Spotlight. We're really excited today to have Jay Weiss and Gary Kitos from Allermetrix, the founders of Allermetrix, which is the leading RAST provider for our ENT offices and allergy offices around the country. RAST, for those of you who may not be familiar, is the blood allergy testing, and it is a source of great consternation and frustration for us as physicians, because we have patients all the time that are sitting there with obvious allergic symptoms, whether it be from inhalants or foods, and we just can't reproduce it on a test. Either there may be a variety of medical reasons why that patient can't have skin testing. In some cases, there are even insurance third-party reimbursement reasons why they need blood testing. And traditional blood testing, in my experience, which I have a lot of gray hair, so it's getting longer and longer, my 26 or 27 years, so often that blood testing at a routine lab is negative. And then you're looking at the patient, well, what the heck do we do now? And so me as a clinician, and so many of our USCNT members have been looking for something better than that. And so when we looked at adding RAST to the USCNT portfolio, we went straight to the AAOA. We went straight to the American Academy of Otolaryngologic Allergy, and we went to our longtime partner in USCNT, ALK, the worldwide market leader in allergy, period. And we asked them, who would you partner with? And so those folks are the ones that led us to Jay and Gary. And we're so thrilled. I think over the next 15, 18 minutes, as they talk about their technology at a high level, you'll see why it's so different, why we have so much confidence in their testing methods. It's so much more sensitive. But what I take home as a clinician is it's so precise. Even the screening process before a patient has their blood drawn is so sophisticated and so intentional that we know we're going to have good results that the clinician can act upon. And so for all those reasons, as you know, we have an all-star team of suppliers in USCNT, and Allermetrix completely fits the bill there. And so with that, Jay, Gary, take it away, and Julia, feel free to pull up the slides.
Thank you, Keith. I appreciate that introduction. And Gary and I have both been in the allergy field we're coming on 40 years now, I think. But we've both Gary's been involved in the extract side, the head of an extract house, as well as has started 3 different RAST laboratories. I've been involved in the manufacturing and development of these tests, as well as working in the laboratory side. So we both had a lot of experience across the whole kind of spectrum of services from allergy diagnosis and treatment. We're a CAP certified laboratory located in Franklin, Tennessee. And our goal is really to improve allergy outcomes and help you do that. Next slide, please. So the advantages we have, as Keith mentioned, our technology is unique. It's a liquid phase technology. It's much more sensitive. We have a lot of clients who've started with us who, as Keith talked about, ended up having very symptomatic patients and no positive blood testing. When they join us, they generally have found that now there are some positive tests, because we are able to see a lot better at the low end of the testing kind of spectrum. The expertise, as I've mentioned, Gary and I have been in this for a number of years, and we're always available on the phone to talk about any sorts of issues. Our menu, we have almost 500 different allergens. We can make our allergens. We actually manufacture all of our own products so that we can make new allergens for you if they're something that you need specifically. And finally, we have an online, you can order online, you can have patients fill out a history online, and your results will be available online, as well as we provide diets online for people who want to do rotation and elimination diets. Next, please. So we focus on precision medicine. I think the allergy field is probably the first precision medicine field as it is, that you do skin testing and treat with what you've tested. Our blood tests are very precise, and we have devised panels so that we get cross-reaction in the testing, so that we use fewer allergens to get more results. That results in more efficient testing and much more cost-effective testing. Next, please. So we have the three areas that we work with: the individualized clinical history and symptoms. This is something that is available online. You can obviously, you have your methods in your own office, but patients can go online, fill out our form that will become available to you through your portal. We do individualized diagnosing and testing strategies, so we can create custom panels if you have those, and we will do any of the 100 of the 500 different tests that you would like. We do them at IgE, IgG, and IgG4. And then the individualized treatment, as you have immunotherapy, we can create diets that will avoid and rotate foods for you. If you go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit about the history side. So we have an e-office online service that your patients can access if they want to fill out forms for their symptoms and their history. If they can available to you, it's your personal portal that you will see, and they can go online through that portal. And the next one will show you an example of the result of their filling out this form. They get a dashboard. And the top, it shows you the different areas of the body that they've shown that they have symptoms. And then it gives you the total symptoms and the months that the symptoms occur. We use the zip code to identify the location of the patient. And then in the bottom, it shows your family history. If your parents have both had allergy, this is showing you have about a 65% chance of having allergy. The symptoms by category, whether it could be caused by foods, inhalants, or both, and then our recommendations for testing. The next one will show you, if you hover over one of these little blue areas like the foods there, you can see that what comes up are the symptoms that can be the reason for food allergy, or the symptoms of food allergy. And these are available to the patient. And in the end, the patient, when he sees this, he can do this, fill this out before he visits you, after he visits you, or during the visit. If he does it before, sometimes he decides that, well, it looks like I have some allergies, I better get tested for this. So this is a great tool to help promote your practice of allergy also. And next, please.
And Jay and Gary, while you're switching slides, is this widely available to anybody? Do they have to be an engaged patient, an official patient with a practice to have access to this portal, or does a practice have to be a former Allermetrix customer to do this? I guess let's talk about those logistics a little bit. And people, if you have any questions, please feel free to type in the chat window, or we'll have about 10 minutes at the end. But if you could just explain kind of how a patient can find this portal.
When they set up an account with us, we give each client a 4-digit code number, which will give the patient access into the patient portal area to complete this questionnaire, and it's indicate their dietary habits as well. A patient can go online through a client. It doesn't go anywhere though. It'll take them all the way to the dashboard. They can see how it works. but that's the extent of it.
Okay, so it would need to be initiated by the practice, and
Yes.
we would reach out to you and say, okay, we have a patient that needs testing, and then from there. Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah, and when we sign you up, you will get an instruction sheet that it tells you what the patients need to use to access the portal for your histories. And then it also tells you how you can access your results, which are also available online.
Fantastic.
So the now at the individualized treatment, we can then, the testing strategies are available. We would recommend testing based on the history, and then we can make custom panels. So if you have panels that you already use, all you need to do is tell us what they are, and we can create those panels that will be available to you online on ordering there, or we have printed request forms that are available and unique for each practice so that they would have your own panels on that request form. For individualized treatment now, we also do for the results from our blood tests. We always give avoidance information for the allergens for which you were found positive. And for food testing, we also give you a diet that will rotate foods, and it will give you avoidance for the foods that you were positive to in your particular test. These diets are available online. You can create them, or you can have us make them and mail them to you. I think the next we'll talk a little bit about what these diets look like. So they are 4-day rotation elimination plans. So the food families are rotated every 4 days. The allergens to which you've been found positive to are eliminated originally. It gives you a grocery list of foods to buy. It gives you information of which foods are in what families. And then it has a hidden foods listing, which is the kinds of labels that you see. For example, if you have milk, you have to be able to avoid all the different sorts of milk that are on labels. Same with eggs and similarly. And then finally, a pollen cross-reactivity guide, which shows you, for example, if you're allergic to ragweed, that you may have a reaction to watermelon and those sorts of things. The diets are generated online directly from the results of your particular test. And the last diet that was made online is always saved. You can go back, and if you want to introduce a new food that they were eliminating previously, you can go back and change that diet so that you can include that food now, create a new diet, and then the patient will now have that diet with one food or whatever number of foods you wanted to add in. And there are no charges for these diets. These are part of our service.
And before we leave that, is there, just because many of our attendees are administrators and non-clinical, do the patients need to do any kind of diet rotation prior to the testing?
No, there's nothing previous to testing that needs to be done for valid testing at all.
And the test
That's the beauty for the audience's edification. Yeah, since we're testing in the blood, the antibodies are either there or they're not there. So you don't have to worry about whether the patient just had melons, if it's going to screw up their ragweed result, etc. That's really the elegance of a blood test versus a skin test.
Exactly. All right, next, please. So this is the list of our, and I know this is small type, but we just listed all the insurance companies that we are in network with. We are not in network with every one of them, but we are in network with Medicare. So any Medicare patient, we would be able to get reimbursed. We accept assignment. And then multi-plan, which covers a lot of different plans, we're in network with that. So if you're interested and you want to know more details, it's easy to give us a call. We can take care of that. But a lot of local blues will not allow us in without a lab in the state, which is one of our kind of issues that we've had to deal with. And in those situations, we can bill the patient if you like. And then
Yeah, I think it's worth talking a little bit. Again, we mostly have administrators on here and an absolute all-star team of some of the best ENT practices in the nation. So what would be the next steps? I mean, I know you two are working with me in my practice. Marcia's on the call, my administrator here in Dallas. But so patients can have access to this no matter what, just under some certain circumstances, this will be a cash pay situation.
That's correct. And there, I mean, and we'll talk about this in the next slide, but we can bill the patient directly as long as we have a signature that accepts responsibility. Or we can bill the practice, and the practice can decide what they want to bill the patient. So we have fees for US ENT members that are shown here. For our routine IgE, IgG, IgG4, it's $4.50 per test, per antibody. Now, the routine allergens represent about 95%, if not more, of our allergen offering. The few that are not are the component testing, which are the purified allergens that are listed there. And then there are a few of the occupationals, there may be a half a dozen of those. And then the Hymenoptera, which are all of the venoms that we offer for blood testing.
I should point out that we also, that Jay didn't mention, we will bill the insurance directly as well. And then the patient may end up getting billed depending upon the reimbursement from the insurance company. So you have client bill, you have patient bill, and we can also bill the insurance. The patient doesn't get billed until after we receive payment from the insurance company. For example, some may have a very high deductible, so everything will go to deductible. In case then when we bill the patient, we don't bill the patient at what we bill the insurance company, which is a very high fee, which a number of labs do that. They bill the patient that same fee. We are allowed, because we're located in the state of Tennessee, they allow us to lower the fee down to the patient fee schedule. So the burden on the patient is much lower than it would be if we were to bill them at the same fee that the insurance companies would bill them.
And the burden on the practice, it seems, since you would potentially offload the billing responsibility. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and I just want to make it clear here, so that if we bill a practice, your fees would be the US ENT fee. And if you were allowed to bill your patient, you could bill them whatever you wanted to. If we're billing the patient directly and the patient's taking responsibility, then we would bill the patient at the patient fee, or if they're out of network, we would use the patient fee schedule also. Yeah. If they're in network, we have to follow whatever the contract says.
Sure.
And I think we're to the end.
Perfect timing.
And
all right. Well, I'm sure there are a ton of questions. Let me pull up the chat room, but feel free, anyone, just to speak up. I know many of you have joined as able. So one question was whether or not you guys provide the antigens for therapy or not, or if you're purely on the diagnostic side of things.
We are purely on the diagnostic side of things. We do have connections with some antigen people, but we do only do the diagnostic process.
Right. We have relationships with if you're interested and you're having trouble finding, if you're not making the treatment sets internally in the practice, we do have close relationships with some of the diagnostics, some of the therapeutic houses. One in particular is an expert in the sublingual type of treatment, and they are licensed to make that material. So we can help guide you along those ways. And in terms of interpreting the test results, I'm very comfortable because, as Jay had mentioned, I was responsible to an FDA allergy extract house for 6 years. So I'm very comfortable in those discussions. If you need to interface with you a little bit on some of the treatment aspects from interpreting our test results, translated over to the treatment side of it.
Great. And the next question would be in regards to the precision and the specificity. So if the patient goes online and the matrix narrows it down to just a few tests, but the clinician wants other tests, I guess what say does the physician have in specific tests that she or he may want ordered? Does that come back across the physician's desk, or does it go straight from the patient portal to Allermetrix?
No, it goes through the physicians. The physician has to order the test, and all we do is give recommendations. The physician chooses what to order. The full menu is available at the time of ordering. We just give you ideas of what we think the history might suggest. But again, the physician has the access to the patient and the clinical signs and symptoms. They can choose any of the tests that we offer.
Also, I should mention that when the patient fills this out, that dashboard comes up. When you go into the doctor's portal, not only is that same dashboard there, but to the side of that, there's a knife and fork. And that leads you, when you click it, within 2 seconds, it lists all the symptoms of the patients that they filled out. It also, though, takes our statistical data and ranks the foods by most reactive foods to least reactive foods, so that you can make the selections based on that. And one step further, if you decide to go that route and select test, it dovetails into our online ordering system, and it automatically transfers all those into the order. And you can add to that order, or you can take some of those tests off of the order. You have ultimate flexibility in the online ordering. You add inhalants to put a chemical testing in. It's all interactive, and you don't do any clerical transfer of ordering.
That's fantastic. Another question, obviously, that we have a national organization, so many different sub geographies and microclimates and things. So I wanted you to talk a little bit more again about the custom panels. Here in North Texas, we have such a terrible environment. Plus, it's a very high pollen area, seemingly ever changing. So do you have ready-made panels for different regions of the country? I guess how much flexibility, if it, like my practice, our allergy department is 50 years old, so my allergy nurses are very set in their ways about testing certain things. I guess how much flexibility does a practice have um, to form their own panels?
Yeah, you have 100% flexibility. Any one of our allergens and combination of them are available as a custom panel for you. We have panels that are for each state. We base our panels on statewide measurements of pollen in neighboring states and things like that. But if your practice has a panel that you've been using, like you said, for 50 years, all we need is to list those allergens, and it will be one click online or one box on your request form that you would check.
One of the nice things too, our online ordering system, all your panels are listed there, and our panels, you can click the panel and it gives you an immediate breakout of what's in that panel, which allergens are in it. You can utilize our services in terms of our cross-reactivity testing strategies, or you can just use just what you're comfortable with now. We aren't, our system is interchangeable. You don't have to use any of our programs, and it just service your practice the way you're currently doing. Or you can utilize and take a look at some of the things we do to get a different viewpoint, maybe than what you're currently doing. And you may like what we have, then you can implement that. And so it's strictly up to you. We're not a one size fits all. We're trying to individualize everything we do to meet the needs of your particular practice.
Perfect. So another question. So is there any particular patient that we could not send to Allermetrix? And I think they're coming from a standpoint of what their insurance carrier might be.
As long as the patient signs the responsibility form, it's part of our request form. We'll test them as long as they accept responsibility if their insurance company will not pay.
The one caveat there may be with the Medicaid testing, because we're not in every Medicaid program, that we cannot get reimbursed if we're not in the program. And to give you an example of how the insurers are in the state of Tennessee, which we're located, there's 3 insurers for Medicaid. We're only in one. They won't allow us in the other 2, even though we're a CAP certified inspected laboratory. there's exclusive relationships with one of the big labs, and they blocks all other labs from joining in. So we cannot accept those particular samples. But it's really only Medicaid as far as that part goes. We would have to maybe return a specimen, but we would let you know beforehand to contact us as to whether or not we can bill for that purpose.
And I guess even in that instance, you could theoretically do cash pay. I don't know the specifics. I mean, I remember having to deal with Medicaid Tennessee when I was at Vanderbilt. They're not easy, but I mean, I guess you could even do that in an extreme case if the patient is willing to do so.
We could do like an advanced benefit notice, maybe along those lines.
Yeah. Okay, good. I think that's all the questions from the chat room. What else? Anything else?
No.
No, I just want to reiterate that our programs that we put together is what Jay and I have learned over the years, and utilizing the cross-reactivity, particularly in the inhalants. The fewer inhalants that you have to put in a treatment set, the more effective the outcome will be on the patient. So, but at the same time, we don't want to replace your practice. We want to augment and help you out wherever we can. So we're offering these services. Jay and I are always around to discuss it. But by all means, you can continue to do exactly what you're doing if you're comfortable with it. You can take a look at our programs and say, hey, this may work out really well for us. For example, this online ordering along with the patient information that they can put in may work out real well for a telehealth type of an approach to be able to gather the information quickly and efficiently.
Yeah, I like how you phrase that, Gary. I mean, it is really frustrating. There's a significant number of patients that have negative RAS testing when we just send them to LabCorp or Quest, whoever, and we can't treat those patients. We can't help them. So it truly does expand the population that we can take care of for the good of the patient, but also for the health of the revenue and the bottom line of the practice. So I know that's why we've implemented this, and we're so excited at Collin County ENT for sure.
I would also, because we haven't really talked about it, but our turnaround time is 48 hours from the moment we receive the sample. I just want to make sure so that if we get a sample, we don't work on Saturday or Sunday. So if we get a sample on Sunday, you get a result on Tuesday. If we get a sample on Monday, you get a result on Wednesday. But that's our standard turnaround time.
Thank you. Yeah, I should have asked about that too, but that's great.
And our PDFs that are online in the portal can easily be downloaded directly into your EMR, into whatever patient file you want to. You don't have to print it out and scan it. These are non-encrypted, be a little technical, they're non-encrypted and non-passworded so that they're capable of being downloaded directly into the patient record.
And because they're electronically created, they're searchable.
Mm-hmm. Well, fantastic. Well, I think our time is up. So great job staying right on time, guys. I really appreciate the information and thanks to all the attendees. I hope you enjoyed your lunch. Thank you, Gary and Jay, for providing lunch for our attendees as well. So we look forward to seeing all of you on the next USC ENT Supplier Spotlight. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you all for attending.